Okay, for this video, we're going to work on this wood texture, copying this wood texture with ballpoint ink pen. So our first step that I always suggest or recommend or require if you're my student is to create a base layer very lightly. We're going to use the edge of our pen, and you have to kind of just get the ink flowing there very, very, very lightly. You can probably see that it's coming out, but it's very, very, very faint. And this is what we want. We start our first layer off very faint, and we are doing our pen strokes in the direction of the wood grain, and I am going to go in an opposite direction for a second layer to kind of smooth this out. But again, because we're going in very, very super light and we're creating our base value, the color underneath the texture, that's what we're creating right now. So you can see that it's there, it's just very, very light. And then I'm going to turn and go in the opposite direction for our second layer. And a key to like clean, sharp art or a finished product is nice, clean edges. I like defined edges without outlines is kind of what I recommend, what I say. So I always want to make sure that my edges have a solid covering of value. So I usually go through and check my edges and just make sure that they're good and clean and solid. So I have 2 layers now. And I think I'm going to come through and do one more before I start adding in some texture. And this is going to start to make my value just a little bit darker here. And a couple things when you're laying down layers like this, we want to make sure that we don't have like loops at the end, like this kind of like little loops. We want straight, and we don't want curved layers. We want very, very straight. Sometimes people do these little like hooks at the end. Where it kind of curves at the end. Like, make sure you're not doing any of those things. You want very straight, very even. Make sure everything's even and evenly covered. I don't want to have areas where I've gotten my pen a little bit darker than other areas. That's my goal for this right now. And again, I'm gonna check my edges. You'll notice that when I work, I turn my paper a lot rather than twisting around my hand. It's a good habit to get into. Okay, so now I have a nice, relatively even base. Now I can start adding in some of these details. So I'm gonna want sort of a circle kind of right here, but I don't want like a solid line as I put it in. I'm gonna go really, really, really light. And then we're gonna have another smaller one down here. Now, these are darker in value, so now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add a couple more layers in the circle areas. And I'm gonna bring the value up inside the circles. Always go light because you can always darken, but it's a lot harder with pen to lighten. Okay, so now I'm going to start to put in some of these textures. Kind of define the outside edge a little bit because it is, again, very light, a little at a time. It's a lot easier to correct little mistakes than big ones. So going nice and slow and easy is your best bet. I'm going to put in this little center here, and it has like a little bit of a rounded hook over on that side. Okay, so now I have these lines. This one kind of comes in, connects. And again, I'm putting these in nice and easy. This one doesn't go all the way. This one doesn't either, but I want tapered, flicked lines, okay? And some of them are not straight. Very, very light, okay? Very, very light. This line kind of comes and touches to there. And if they're not like, don't match the reference exactly perfect, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, and then we have some coming around like this. And it's not solid circles. They don't all connect necessarily, but they do go kind of in this circular. Okay, so once I have these in now I'm gonna start to sort of refine in the details here. So like, as these come around in the edge, they might widen out a little bit. So do that. And just start kind of tweaking with my knot here. One of the things that it does, like, we have lines kind of coming, wood texture lines kind of coming around. So I kind of start adding some of those in. And you'll notice that the lines widen and go around the knot. And again, I'm putting them in very light and easy because I can always darken and make them more pronounced as I go when I'm sure that I'm happy with them. So like, I was kind of, well, let's put in this one. This one kind of comes in, it's a big one, so we'll put that in. Kind of comes around, kind of even with the bottom. And it doesn't quite, it almost connects in the middle. And then we have another one that kind of comes, it's rounding. And then it kind of rounds around this one too. Okay, so this one I can kind of, we got like a dark area here where the wood's kind of split. Let's see, we have a smaller center. Got some lines through in here. So if I put these in really light, then if I don't like them, I can kind of just not make them predominant and they'll kind of blend away. That's why I like to put everything in real light first and then just kind of darken as we go. If I like it. Really light circular motions there. Okay, so then I can kind of start to darken this area that is a little darker here. And it tapers, so we want to make sure that as we come around, we taper it. And then it thickens as it comes out. And I have like a thicker line that comes up through here. So I'm just kind of adding in lines, grain lines. And these are going to be my main ones, and then we'll darken them and we'll add in like just lighter texture lines. Okay, so again, just keep adding in the main texture lines that I want for my wood. We want them to not all be the same length as we're putting them in. So as I put these in here, I just vary my lengths. And then I will also, once I have them kind of placed, I'll thicken some or thin them out or whatever. And again, they don't all necessarily need to match exactly what's on the reference, but I usually do use it as a guide, kind of. Okay, and I'll just start kind of thickening these up. But again, we want taper at the ends. We want them to taper. So as you're drawing, lift your pen as you come off so that it gives it a tapered end and not just like a solid line. You want like a tapered line. So that's the sort of the difference. between just ending and then lifting and tapering as you go. And changing sort of the value or the darkness of the line in different areas kind of adds to the feel of the cracks and lines in the wood, changing widths and how they crack and weather. And now as I've got it kind of a good layout, I've kind of got what I want going here, I can start to sort of deepen my texture on my knots here. And we don't want this, the edge of our circle up here, it's kind of, it's not even. We don't need it to be perfect and round, right? It's nature. It's not quite round, so giving it some imperfections here and there actually adds to the feel of it being more natural. Typically, I see people kind of stop too early, and where they could have like a lot more detail and realistic feel to their drawing if they just kept adding some values and things. Okay, so as I am sort of solidifying my design here, I just keep sort of adding value in areas really light. You can see I can just kind of start to add some darkness without actual like solid lines. We're just gonna start to create some darkness and add in lines wherever I kind of want to start creating that wood texture. So any other sort of other lines that I start putting in are very, very light and faint, because now we have our main lines. I can add lines or, you know, just play with it until I kind of get the texture that I'm wanting. If the pen's not putting out any ink, a very small slight shift or tilt will make it start going again. So you don't want to, you want to be careful. You just want it to come out slow, you know? So you can keep it light and keep control. And you can kind of see that it's starting to build wood grain texture through here. And then I just kind of look it over and see if there's anything, anywhere else that I want to adjust or increase or add to. And I think that kind of does it. I mean, I could keep adding and tweaking and layering, but you get the idea.